right, joining us in the nest today, Brandon Butler, CEO and Executive Director of Butter.ATL, which is an awesome cultural channel and social account that you guys can find on social media. First, I got to ask, what's the story behind Butter and why did you call it that?
Yeah, well, everybody thinks I named it after myself because my last name is Butler, and I like to be clear, I did not. The name actually just kind of came out of a brainstorm, kind of thinking about, unique ways and unique names and things that kind of represent the city. And I don't remember exactly who threw the name out, but Butter just felt like it made sense. Butter goes on everything. It's Southern. It makes stuff better. It spreads. I literally became an expert on, the background of butter. Like, when you churn butter, the cream rises to the top. And we like to say when we kind of, shake up the city and the city does its thing, the best things always kind of come out the top. And so it was a name that just made sense. I don't really remember what the second place name was, and it just stuck, and it's been Butter.ATL ever since.
Why do you think that it resonates with so many different people who are, native ATLians and people like myself, who's a transplant, who's been here for 3 years? I mean, I still find it hilarious. I still relate to it. Why do you think it resonates with so many different people?
Yeah, in Atlanta, there's always this like really weird battle between like old Atlanta and new Atlanta, as we kind of call it. People love to remind you they were born at Grady and you weren't. And people love to talk about like what high schools they went to. But here's the thing, Atlanta, I've grown up out here. I've been out here pretty much my whole life. And, the city has changed so much over the years. I think it's great to talk about the past, and it's great to, highlight the things that made Atlanta special. But what's also great is what's making Atlanta special today, right? Like, who are the modern people, places, and things that are shaping the current city? And as much as Atlanta's culture is, is memorable and super important, we find ways to kind of bring that up, but we always like to talk about kind of what's going on now. And I think it's that tension between old and new, to where, the people that have been here their whole lives, they see things, they see content that represents them and that speaks to them. But at the same time, people that maybe didn't go to high school here, maybe they came here in college or came here to get their first job, right? Like, it still gives them things they can feel, connected to for the city. So, we try to balance our content in that way and really kind of try to serve, kind of be something for a little bit of everybody.
Is there a moment that, or maybe an experience you shared with someone that, you realize you built something special with this company?
Yeah, I mean, there've been lots of moments. I think, the first moment that I really remember was Killer Mike, reached out to us. And, again, I've grown up Outkast, huge Outkast fan, huge Killer Mike fan, and I never would have imagined that like these guys that I used to like look up to and all this stuff would be like hitting us up one day. But we had just made a post about like the most ATL shoe or something like that, like the most ATL tennis shoe. And like we let the audience vote on it. And, Killer Mike ended up DMing us and saying, hey man, look, like I get what they said, but like this is what I actually think the best shoe is. And it just kind of created a relationship and a conversation. And, I knew we were kind of on to something special there. And then again, there was even another moment, last year where I got invited with Dr. Jocelyn Wilson out to the dungeon to meet with Organized Noise for the 25-year anniversary of ATLians, right? So we literally got to go to the house that Andre and Big Boy like created the first Outkast. I mean, it's like the Graceland of Atlanta. And we were able to go there. It's actually it's literally like a historic Airbnb right now. It should be a monument, but we were able to go there and literally sit there and interview Organized Noise, who not only helped create Outkast but helped create TLC and like all these other legendary Atlanta groups. And again, that was just another moment where, as a fan, it's like, again, it's like, imagine if you got a chance to interview, your favorite movie star, like somebody you just. Like, it was like those moments where I've always had to be really appreciative and just sit back and say, like, wow, we really built something that's authentically connected, so many people in Atlanta.
And another part of the culture in Atlanta, obviously, is the sports side. You talked a little bit about the music side, but you guys have done some funny videos like reacting to Atlanta Falcons games and stuff like that. Where is that kind of intersection for you guys as far as sports being a part of Atlanta culture?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember when we first started Butter, I always told people like there's three parts of a story. there's the origin story, there's the shared experience element, and then there's like why it matters now, right? And so you always have to kind of weave this job of creating content that like speaks to one of those three parts of the story. Well, part of Atlanta's origin story is sports in so many ways. Again, I grew up out here. I remember all those years the Braves were going to the World Series and losing, which is why when they finally won, it was important, but it was also why when they won last year, it was important, right? So when you have that historical context, again, I was, I remember the Falcons from when, Morton Anderson kicked that field goal against Minnesota and them going to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? I remember when I was in Houston when they went the last time and it didn't go that well. And I just think like as a fan, those are just, authentic stories and kind of, again, explain why things matter now. I mean, even beyond the Falcons, Atlanta United, again, that's why them not only coming to the city and really embracing the culture authentically, but then also winning the championship in their first year, like off the back of all that crazy stuff that happened right after the Falcons lost. I was actually at that game because I was with my best friend and I told him, I was like, I'm going to see a championship in Atlanta. I don't care what it takes. And we sat all the way to the top of Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the last row, but we got to see it and it was just an amazing experience. And so I think, again, sports is just such a big, and that's just professional sports. We're not even talking about high school sports and like what Friday night means. Again, growing up out here, going to Friday night football games and watching the bands come out to the success that like colleges have had. And, again, a long time ago, it was just UGA. Now you have, Georgia State actually making some waves right here in the city, right? So again, I think just when you kind of see, you can always kind of connect the dots looking backwards. And I think, like all those moments just kind of, again, speak to why sports is such an important part of Atlanta's culture right now and will be in the future as well.
Is this type of movement, the hyperlocal focus, the news as memes kind of, is this kind of the future of journalism and how people, maybe 35 and younger are getting their news?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there was a stat that came out that said, a lot of people don't know this, but Google is the #1 search engine. YouTube is actually the second largest search engine, and TikTok is cutting significantly in the Google and YouTube search volume, right? So the reality is people are looking at social media for news, for information. And while there's a lot of crazy stuff out there that you got to kind of sift through and make sure you're getting the right stuff and you're following the right people, I think the reality is we do spend a lot of time on these apps. And so the idea behind Butter was just, let's meet people where they're at. I have always been what I kind of call platform agnostic. While we've grown a huge audience on Instagram specifically, if we were starting Butter today, it might be on TikTok, right? It's wherever the attention is. That's where we want to kind of go. And I think that as long as the attention is there and that's what people are consuming, we want to find ways, because we do get out while we have fun. And I do think, memes are definitely marketing and like the kind of content. I always say there's a balance in, I kind of call it vitamin, candy, and painkillers, right? And so like we make a lot of candy content. There's stuff that's fun, there's stuff that makes you, that you enjoy, but just like candy, if you only have too much candy, it's going to rot your teeth, right? The vitamin content is the stuff to where it's like, I say it's like the motivational stuff to where, it's good, but you got to actually take action. So, we give a lot of vitamins like, here's a place, here are maps of places to go on a date or places to go eat. You have the information, you still have to use it, right? And then there's painkiller content. A big thing that happened back when all the, the elections were going on and the unrest was happening in Atlanta, we were getting information out and letting people know how they could peacefully and safely go out and let their voices be heard, right? So it's not just about using these platforms to gain followers and likes, but I think everybody that has a platform has a responsibility, and we try to balance our content so that it serves a purpose, but also has fun as well.
So Ludacris obviously came out with a song called Butter.ATL. How did that kind of come to be?
Yeah, man. Shout out to Ludacris and the whole team over there. They were working on a campaign with Jif Peanut Butter at the time. And, we had a conversation and connected with him and Shaka Zulu, his manager. And, and they just kind of came up with the idea. And like, they basically, I can't remember who threw it out, but somebody was like, what if we just name the song Butter.ATL? And I was like, yeah, what if we just name the song Butter.ATL? Like, let's do it. Like, let's call it Butter.ATL and just make sure it's like really clear. And we ended up kind of creating a relationship. Our team ended up doing all of the album artwork and cover art for the single. And yeah, we have a song called Butter.ATL by Ludacris streaming on all your platforms. You know, y'all go ahead and stream it so I can get me a platinum plaque. That's a little goal of mine.
That's awesome. Also this year, you were tapped as a partner and chief content creator of Shaq's Atlanta-based marketing and advertising agency. What's kind of going on there, and how has this kind of maybe springboarded you into things that you didn't even think were possible?
Yeah, so you know, when we launched Butter, we originally launched Butter within an agency out here called Dagger, which is another creative marketing agency, and you know, they were super supportive and kind of helping it get off the ground. Ultimately, it kind of started to kind of become its own thing. And when I ended up basically leaving Dagger back in March, you know, I was connected with the folks over at Majority. You know, we got a great team over there. Ended up coming on board. So, you know, there's still a relationship. I mean, Majority doesn't own Butter or anything like that. That's not how any of that stuff worked out. But, you know, on that side, we're doing some amazing work. You know, a big article just came out. I was actually, you know, featured in it. We just, or not featured in it, but actually had the quote in it. But we just were named the multicultural agency of record for General Motors. You know, we do all the AOR work for the NBA G League. And a lot of other great, amazing brands out here, right? And again, I think the thing about Majority that's so interesting and what really brought me to the company was I've worked in marketing and like, you know, marketing agencies for the last 10 plus years. The reality is you don't really see people that look like me in leadership positions, especially in a city like Atlanta, which is just crazy to me sometimes with all the talent of just multicultural talent from all types of, you know, unique, diverse people. And so the idea behind Majority was, what if we actually made the minority the majority from a leadership and kind of high level standpoint? Because in the marketing world, it's kind of weird. You know, when we go to pitches, a lot of times if they see a person of color, they automatically assume, okay, he's just here for the multicultural stuff. And then anybody that's not, they get what they kind of call general market. So they get the big budgets, the big campaigns. And it's this mind-blowing idea that people that look like me, diverse groups of people, can actually do general market work that resonates authentically and lands in culture. And believe it or not, that's really kind of like shaking the whole model of the marketing agency world up. And so we've partnered with a lot of great brands, a lot more great work is coming out. We were just named Ad Age Small Agency of the Year this year. So a lot of good stuff is happening. Some more good stuff is on the horizon. So, you know, just continue to stay tuned.
We love to have people like you on this show because we've had like Atlanta influences everything. We've had all these kind of different culture makers, you know, I guess people who are disseminating all this stuff. And I just love hearing that you guys are doing so much out there actually in the world, rather than, hey, we're just posting this stuff on social media. No, you're changing and you're affecting that change in the rooms that matter, which is very cool. So we love to have people like you on this show. I wanted to ask about the strategy moving forward for Butter.ATL. What's kind of next? What do you guys think that you might do to take this to the next level?
Yeah, you know, actually to kind of piggyback off your last point, for me, you know, I've always been about doing things that show up in the real world authentically. A lot of people saw the collaboration. I mean, the Ludacris example, right? Like, name another social media account that has a song with a megastar like Ludacris. You know, a lot of people saw the collaboration that we did with Crystal, where we actually completely rebranded and powered one of their stores, their main flagship store on Northside Drive last year. And then on the same time, we actually, you know, we'll get to speak to Atlanta Influences Everything. You know, we partner with them every year for 404 Day, which is kind of a holiday that we've both started to kind of work together on. This will be the third year running, coming up this next year. Actually, it was this year, and we, you know, this year we actually raised a $20,000 scholarship for the Atlanta University Center consortium, right, to actually help AUC students. So again, for us, it's always been about finding ways to, again, not just sit behind the computer screen and, you know, again, just make jokes and try to get likes and followers. I think we always look for authentic ways to show up in culture. So, you know, hopefully there'll be some more pop-ups happening. There might be some large Butter brand collaborations that could be happening. You know, I just really see the opportunity for Butter to kind of, again, just show up in really interesting, unique ways that people wouldn't have thought of. And, you know, I'm pretty much open to anything. So, you know, I always tell people, let's talk. I mean, that's how that whole idea with Crystal started. It was like, you know, they asked me, what's your craziest idea? I said, let me paint a store yellow. And they said, well, we can't do yellow. It's not a brand color, but pick another color. I was like, all right, let's paint it black. And it was like, cool. So, again, that store has been a flagship. It's helped them do a lot of stuff. So I think we'll just continue to work on stuff like that and just show up in interesting ways and also, give back where we can.
That's all I got. Thank you so much for joining us in the nest today. Anyone who wants to catch a full conversation, head to fox5atlanta.com. We'll post the full thing on there, and we'll be back on Rise Up Tonight.
Thank you so much.